Okay, we're going to start we finished at 120, but I'm going to go back to 118. Reading from the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, Book 1, Chapter 7, Text 118. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Śrī Parīkṣit uvāca. Etādṛśaṁ tad-vraja-bhāgya-vaibhavaṁ. Saṁrambhataḥ kīrtayato mahā-prabhoḥ. Puna tathā-bhāva-niveśa-śaṅkayā. Preritā mantri-vareṇa Sangā. Śrī Parīkṣit said, as the Supreme Lord continued ardently praising the splendor of the good fortune of Vraja, the expert counselor Uddhava grew anxious for the special ecstasies of Vraja might again draw the Lord into a trance. With a gesture, therefore, he prompted the ladies to do something. Om timirandasya gananjana shalakaya taksur unmalatam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha Shri Chaitanya mano bhishtam stapitam yena bhutale swayam rupa kadamayam dadati svapadantikam vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhayebhacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So greetings from Super Soul Farm. Such a nice day here. Today I'll be heading to Newburgh to stay with the Ravals. Such a nice family, and I have such a nice relationship with them that I promised to stay a few days before the Vyas Puja. Now, this is Maharaj speaking, Parīkṣit speaking, and what has he just heard? He heard in the story that he's telling that Krishna, see what happened is, we all know the story. I looked at the people here, you're all on the same page, that Krishna is explaining to Satyabhama why the gopis are the tasya parama antim, the end, supreme end of transcendence, the topmost recipients of Krishna's mercy. And then Krishna himself becomes enlivened and explains that there's one person who's almost as dear as the residents of Vraja. And because of his realization, it's actually Radharani's parrot, manifests as Sukadev. Sukha means parrot, godly parrot. He'll be able to describe those topics. And by the power of his own mahā-prabhoḥ, bara, the excess of his mahā-prabhoḥ, in the mood of the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, because he's in the mood of the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, he'll be able to speak something to his Shisha, his excellent disciple, whom I once brought back to life. So Maharaj Parikṣit is actually narrating this and narrating this story, which is a summary of the Bhagavatam. And in that story or history, or however he's channeling it, is this part which is a culmination where Krishna himself, the ultimate authority, is expressing who's the topmost recipient of his mercy. And well, Maharaj Parikṣit is narrating this. Then he's narrating the story, and now he's turning to his mother, and well, he was always narrating the story to his mother, but it's a story within a story of a story. Now he goes back in his mother, and he looks at it that as the Supreme Lord continually, ardently praised the Bhagya, fortune, Vaibhavaṁ, the splendor, saṁrambhataḥ, ardently kīrtayato, praising the fortune of the tad-vraja, his vraja devotees, then Uddhava, when he's explaining that, he is growing anxious. And who's growing anxious? Mantri-vareṇa, the best of the counselors. So remember, I explained that Uddhava is described in the Bhagavatam. I'm putting it in my own words, but mantri is used there as mantri is emotional intelligence, then the best devotee, devotional intelligence, then the disciple of Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, shastric intelligence, and then what's it called? And the just the greatest discriminatory intellectual. He's so aware. He's so aware that he sees Krishna explaining this, and this is what caused the trance that caused the universal crisis. So he had to do something. And he gestures to the queens who are there, and they understood what to do, and they began putting their heads on Krishna's feet and offering prayers, and they're crying, just to kind of distract him from this continual description of the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛtas and invoking his full heart in such a way that he himself becomes bewildered. And then he looked at the mothers to come quickly with the food, because they already knew his desire, so they already started cooking for him. And remember, it's not just food. It's offering the best to God to express their love. There's really something when eating a loving meal. It's really something because it's an emotional experience. I described that's why home cooking is so much better than restaurant cooking, and why prasadam is better than just ordinary food. Yeah, so it's that's and therefore, I did also express my regret that somehow the parampara is a little bit not there from Prabhupada, how he, you know, one time on Govardhan Puja, there was a financial crisis in the temple. We didn't, like now, the temples in India, can you imagine there's 17 ISKCON temples, new temples built in Delhi or something, in the greater area. Millions and millions and millions, but we didn't have any money. So it was a real crisis. So it was Govardhan Puja. They only cooked 3 preparations, and it came to Prabhupada's attention. And Prabhupada said we should know, this is Govardhan Puja. Every preparation in the Krishna book should be cooked. And then I just want to make a note of that. Mm. Um, I remember that feast. That was such a memorable feast. I still remember the glubjubbins. And he sent his personal cook, and he sent Pradyumna with the Shastra to check that out. So it's not ordinary. It's not ordinary. And somehow Baladevam kritasnanam pravesha kritinattada tarante naradas tushted iti vigyapito vibhu. The expert Uddhava had Baladev come in after finishing his bath. Uddhava then informed Lord Krishna that Narada was standing in the doorway. Sarvanta atma drikpraha sasmitan nandanandana ajakena narodho sao yanayat atrapurvavat. Krishna is the all-knowing seer of everyone's heart, but he asks with a smile, why is he being kept standing there? Why doesn't he come in as usual? Yeah, so sometimes when someone comes in, but they're in the distance, you try to read what that means. Just like when Raghunath Das Goswami finally got to come see Lord Nityananda, he was humble and he was in the distance, a little shy, which can come with that degree of devotion. I described that devotion is like a thirst. And a thirst means I'm without water. So hunger and thirst is humbling. So thirst for Krishna is humbling. And then Lord Nityananda said, you're a thief. Oh, everybody said they recognized him. They recognized him. And yeah, they recognized him, and they said, "There's Raghunath Das," because he's so famous. There's Raghunath Das. So they recognized him, and he said, "Oh, you're a thief. Come here," because thieves are all like it was. Thief meant he had gone to Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya sent him back. So the thief meant that he was trying to get God, who's the property of the devotee. So you're stealing God. It belongs to, you want to get God, which is the property of his pure devotee, you have to go to his pure devotee. So, purport, because Krishna already knew the answer to his question, he smiled when asking it. Although Narada had precipitated the entire disturbance by reminding Krishna of Vraja, Krishna did not become angry. Because Krishna is the darling son of Nanda Maharaj, Krishna cannot be dissatisfied with Narada for glorifying the cowherds of Nanda's pastures. Krishna asked why Narada is waiting at the door, since no one until now had ever impeded Narada's free access to Krishna's palace. So Narada is the guru of everyone. If you look at the history, Prahlad's guru, and so many. And usually had free access, but he's somehow a little nervous now to come in. Because he had asked that when Uddhava asked Narada, or said to Narada, searching for Narada, that you're the topmost devotee of Krishna, you're the topmost devotee you're the topmost recipient of Krishna's mercy. Uddhava said, no, it's the residents of Vrindavan. And that whole discussion, which woke up Krishna and put him in this trance. So Narada felt it. The devotee is sensitive. Sensitive. He doesn't have that false ego, that protective illusion of superiority. I'm not wrong. I have reality. I'm entitled. All the things that cover us, and we know, because as we act in the world, we sometimes see these things, and then we get into trouble, and we have some reactions, or we have some dissatisfaction in heart, because we still have that false ego. But Narada doesn't have it. He has bhakti, pure soul, thirsting for God, in a bhav of humility and service. So when there's apparently something wrong, he doesn't have that mechanism, which I call rationalization, which is the service of the use of the intelligence in the service of the false ego. He doesn't have that. That's why we never admit mistakes. That's why we become insulted. He doesn't have that. So without that, if there's a mistake or an apparent mistake, it hits him so much harder. So he's kind of in the background. Pratyudvacho divasmitva prabho bityapi lajjaya tato brahmanya devena swayam ukta praveshasa. Uddhava smiled and answered, my Lord, because he's afraid and embarrassed. Then the Lord, who always favors the Brahmins himself, brought Narada inside and spoke to him. Purport, Uddhava could not help smiling when he thought about Narada's curious behavior, his enthusiastic arrival, his uncontrolled symptoms of ecstasy, and his hiding in the sky to watch Krishna visit Nava Vrindavan. Uddhava told Krishna that Narada was afraid because of the offense he had committed by disturbing Krishna's mind. And when Krishna answered that Narada should never fear him for any reason, Uddhava added that Narada was also embarrassed. Pure devotees are usually shy to reveal their private ecstasies when this might disturb others. To pacify Narada, Krishna himself therefore went to invite Narada in. Krishna approached the sage with due respect, bowed down to him, took his hand, and escorted him into the palace. Prabhupada said, Krishna is responsive. He's a personality. Krishna is everything we want in a person. Okay. Sri Bhagavan uvāca mahā-prabhoḥ pada-vyagra Śrī Narada Surittama hitam me vakritatyantam bhavan me rasikottama. The Supreme Lord said, Narada, my dearest friend, you are always eager to please me, and you are the best of those who relish transcendental emotions. You have now done me a great favor. So here again, this beyond duality type of understanding of spiritual disturbance and love is not disturbance. Spiritual separation and pain is not pain. It is, but it's not. It's all transcendental ecstasy. So whatever increases one's devotion for Krishna is mercy, is ecstasy. So that's what Krishna is telling him. No, you didn't cause a disturbance. I appeared to be disturbed, but that was mercy. That was wonderful ecstasy. Purport. What have you done here is not offensive, Krishna says. Those who know the transcendental taste of devotional service behave like this naturally. You have no reason to feel ashamed. Pragyadyapi premakritat priyanam vicheda dhavana vegata. Pragyadyapi premakritat priyanam vicheda dhavana vegatonta santapajatena duranti shoka vishena gadham babati vadukam. It is true that when one is parted from those one loves, pure love makes one suffer within, as if from a blazing fire. The burning pain creates a remorse that further deepens into irrepressible sorrow. Thus, one at first seems wretched. So in the material sphere, it doesn't go beyond that. But the spiritual sphere, he's going to explain, goes into some kind of level of transcendental ecstasy. Purport, Narada may agree that he need not be embarrassed for unavoidably losing control among the ecstasies of Bhagavad Bhakti, yet he had caused Krishna great distress by sending the Lord into a bewildered trance of remembering his devotees in Vrindavan, remembering his devotees in Vrindavan. In this verse and the next, Krishna therefore tries to convince Narada not to blame himself. The misery of transcendental separation is only apparent. Even while outwardly showing many symptoms of pain, mental pain, a person feeling viraha-bhav is absorbed in incomparable bliss. Thus, the apparently wretched devotee is actually most unfortunate. Whatever momentary distress he may feel will soon give way to complete happiness. Oh my, wow. It's again, you have to not project absolutely the laws of this world on the nature of God's internal life. it's because it's sequential and it's eternal. And God could live on that realm. Wow. He can live on that realm. It's just a different realm of transcendence. So the drama is there, the separation is there, the mental anguish is there, but the ecstasy is there. Tatapi sambhog sukara pistuta sako pinirvacha tamo manorama pramodarasi parinamato dhruvam tad-vraja-bhāgya-vaibhavaṁ. By this anguish of this anguish of separate, this is really the conclusion of what our understanding has to be, and what this book is bringing us to understand without prejudice, without prejudging it based on our experience of how the world works here and how the world works in our limited experience of reality, to project it to the ultimate realm. And I think Sanatana Goswami did a great job. But this anguish of separation is praised as greater than happiness of happiness of enjoying with those loved ones. Separation is so pleasing to the mind that it cannot be described. It always transforms at last into an abundance of pleasure. Only experts in tasting these moods can know how this happens. Only those experts, and what is the term for experts, and this is very important for you to know, is Rasika. Rasika is a connoisseur. He's an expert in tasting. He understands that this that the sambhog sukhat, the happiness of union, sambhog, to join together, is apistuta. The anguish of separation is even more praised. Apistuta, even more praised than this happiness of union. And it's so pleasing to the mind. Mana Rama. Rama we know, Mana we know. Rama, it's so pleasing, it's charming to the mind that vacha, like vak, words, is tama. It's impossible to describe. Pramoda rasi, because it transforms into pramoda rasi, an abundance of pleasure as a result. And only those who are rasika can understand this. Purport, the so-called bliss of merging into the impersonal aspect of the absolute truth is often said to be indescribable. But the bliss of pure prema is even harder to describe. And most hard to describe is the inconceivable ecstasy of transcendental love and separation, which is born in pain, but grows into the greatest possible pleasure. The ecstasy of separation is not the miserable experience it seems to outsiders. It is manorama, the cause of full satisfaction for the heart. If someone still asks how one can feel happy within misery, he should know that only the rasikas, those who have spontaneous eagerness to taste this prema, can understand it. So aren't we all just fortunate, even our somehow smaller group today than usual, aren't we just fortunate to hear about this and contemplate this and aspire for this? So wonderful. Tachoka duko paramasya paschat chitam yata purnataya prasanam samprapya samprapta sambhoga mahasukhena sampanavatishtati sarvadaiva. After the pain of despair is relieved, one's heart feels fully satisfied, delighting constantly as one enjoys the greatest pleasure of meeting one's beloved. So the embankment of separation and the embankment of union, they're both needed to keep the flow of the river of prema. That energy of prema sometimes becomes unlocked, of the meeting, first of all, the separation is increasing it, and then the meeting is increasing it. Purport: those who have not yet realized the natural attraction towards Krishna cannot understand the ecstasy of separation. They should not be vainly pretend to be expert in things which they have no real access, but should instead take guidance from the authentic Rasikas in the line of the Vaishnava Parampara on how to become gradually fit for understanding the subtleties of devotion. Faithful hearing and service is required. So these are the faithful disciples of Srila Prabhupada, just putting it in context, as Prabhupada would. I give the analogy. One second. I take notes sometimes for my writing, because I've made up a lot of analogies. So maybe this one I didn't make out. So I think the analogy is just as a young girl, pre-pubescent, a young girl can't appreciate romance. A 5-year-old girl doesn't appreciate romance because she hasn't had the experience yet, the maturity yet. So similarly, what it's saying here is when you don't have the maturity yet, you can't really understand it deeply. And that, in one sense, is what Narada told to, what Krishna told to Narada. When Narada had the Saksha Darshan, he saw Krishna directly, and then Krishna disappeared, and then he could no longer see him. And then a voice came, and a Kashvani, an unembodied voice came and said, "You have not yet, you're not complete in service. And there's a material taint. You're attached to your peacefulness and the mode of goodness rather than love and service. So you have to become purified." So I love it. Faithful hearing and service are required. Yasya deve para bhaktir tata deve tata garo. One who has implicit faith in the spiritual master, the Supreme Lord, the imports of the Vedas are revealed. And why are they revealed? Because you have some experience of the import of the Vedas, which is to get and transcends the false ego by your surrender to Guru and Krishna. Then you have the vision to see, oh, that. Otherwise you can't without that experience. So you want to, and you have to hear. And this is the process. You have to hear, what is it? Praduma, my godbrother said, good ideas. From the Shastra comes good ideas. Without good ideas, you don't change your mind. And our mind doesn't have good ideas, or it's lacking many good ideas. But you get good ideas from the Shastra. You don't yet see them, but they make sense. And therefore you try to understand them, then you hear, you try to understand, then you apply, and then you realize them. Then you can also see. Still, the material mind is demanding, so the neophytes may ask, doesn't excessive misery normally result in either delusion or death? Why should unlimited joy arise from misery? Granted, the laws of nature dictate that pleasure is generally followed by pain and pain by pleasure. But this doesn't mean that pain literally becomes pleasure and vice versa. It means the circumstance in this world is always changing, so that neither pleasure nor pain can long continue without being replaced by the other. To say that some kind of suffering matures into the highest ecstasy is unreasonable. So this is the argument. It's unreasonable to think this way, that the highest suffering manifests into the highest ecstasy. In answer to such demands to justify Vṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta by logic, what pure devotees personally experience may be given as definite evidence. Pure devotees do indeed enjoy ecstasy and separation. And since no other cause for this ecstasy can be ascertained, the cause must be their intense experience of what appears from the outside to be suffering. To help newcomers devotional process understand Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, Krishna speaks the current verse, comparing the ecstasies of Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta to the pleasurable sensation of relief from pain, a relief which everyone is familiar. A person may struggle to achieve some object of satisfaction, and though his struggle may be painful, when he achieves his object, the pain turns into joy. The ecstatic distress of Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta may appear similar to the pleasure that follows pain, but is expressed here by the phrase saṁpanavat, as if experienced. This is only the external appearance. In other words, the ecstasy of what's saying here is really interesting. Generally, pain, pleasure comes from relief from pain. So it looks like this, but it's only external. There's something much more happening in the spiritual world. Even though it has this form, something much more is happening. In reality, the ecstasy of separation comes not from the eventual meeting and enjoying with one's beloved, but from the pain of separation itself. That ecstasy is complete satisfaction in which one never feels any insufficiency. That ecstasy may be compared to the pleasure of gratification after deprivation, but actually it is much more sublime. The mind of an ordinary person is relieved when he can rejoin those he loves and again gratify his senses, but a pure devotee's greatest ecstasy arrives from serving and remembering Krishna in separation, because we're not separated. That's the point. Our separation from God is only a matter of consciousness. So there's something deeper than the external. Anyway, what I'm doing, reading this and the clarity of the purports, I'm just feeling that our small group today is extremely fortunate, just to be able to hear these things. Okay, I'm going to stop here, especially because I'll be traveling today, but we have time for a few questions, or Jamuna Jaya, if you're there, steady, sharing what you like today, get us going.
Hare Krishna Raj, thank you for class. There's a lot to mull over about. It
I don't
really
see
makes
you
it.
somehow.
Oh, yeah, you were glitching a little bit. I don't know if it's on my end or your end, but you can hear me.
I can hear you. Okay.
Okay. Um, there was a lot to mull over with the ecstasy and separation, but I love the description of Narada Muni. It was so beautiful. A pure soul thirsting for God in a mood of humility. That just was so beautiful to me.
Yeah,
And
isn't
what
it?
an aspiration. So
Isn't it?
beautiful.
Yeah. Wow. Great.
Pure
Thank you.
soul thirsting for
Gail,
God. Thank you.
Harbo.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. By the way, we could see Jamuna Jaya very clearly. Um, can you?
In other words, I'm not qualified to see Jamuna Jaya. What else do I have to do?
I don't know who is qualified to see Jamuna Jaya. She's
Well,
the
evidently
embodiment
you
of
are.
ecstasy.
You are.
Special mercy today because of the class, probably. Anyway, Maharaj, can you just repeat your definition of expert, please?
Connoisseur. A
Uh-huh.
connoisseur is expert in appreciation of fine things.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, Maharaj, when we say that Uddhava was uh like I guess so good at not only Shastra but mantra, what's really so much the difference there?
Mantri is emotional intelligence. You
Oh,
understand people's minds. That's what I'm saying. He's an advisor. There's different types of intelligence, right?
yeah.
There's something called idiot savant. Like,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
like when I grew up, the greatest chess player in the world was from our neighborhood. He was named Bobby Fischer. He was the greatest chess player in the world. And that time, up until that time, the Russians were dominating. And then he played the Russians and he won. But he couldn't tie his shoelaces practically. He couldn't relate to people. He was so strange. So, there's different types of intelligence.
Yeah.
So this is my creative speculation, which because there's a verse, I'll find it the last time, that it says he's a mantri, then he's beloved of Krishna, then he's the disciple of Brihaspati, and then he's Bodhisattva. So Bodhisattva means the supreme intelligence, but he's also shastric, he's also devotional, and he's also, has emotional intelligence.
Which is why he was a good person to convey the message to the gopis, right? Because
He
he
was
could,
the best person
yeah.
because he also had to come back and explain it to everybody who was waiting.
Hmm.
So he not only had to have that shastric understanding to see that this was ecstasy, but he had to be able to communicate it.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad you said this is you translated mantra because I thought you were saying like mantra, like,
No,
mantra,
mantri. Mantri
mantra.
means, even in India, that a minister of defense, a minister of health, a minister of transportation, they're called a mantri.
Because why would those people be called a mantra?
They're ministers, minister of health, minister of defense, minister of this. So Uddhava was a minister, a
Mm.
mantri, an advisor on a
Uh-huh.
certain thing. Yeah.
Okay. It's interesting to learn that I didn't realize that Bobby Fischer was from our hometown.
Oh yeah, Erasmus High School.
Oh, Erasmus too. Okay.
Yeah, this is things that we can share, Gail.
Yeah.
Being born in the same village. No,
Yeah.
but that was so big because no one could defeat the Russians in chess.
Oh, wow.
And then
Amazing.
he was like, I mean, he was incredible. I remember he won one game where he first moved his king onto the other side of the board, one move at the time. He was amazing, but he wound up crazy.
Oh, oh.
He wound up absolutely insane, out of his mind.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow. Interesting. Fascinating.
yeah.
Okay, Maharaj.
Okay, you didn't.
Thank you.
You know Erasmus High School, right?
Oh
It's
yeah.
the
Oh
oldest
yeah.
high school in the
That's
world.
my that's my that's my hood, as they say.
That's your what?
Hood.
You that's your hood? Okay. More and more is being revealed. People didn't know we were born in the same little village, Gail.
Yeah. Maharaj, this is just to add one more thing to our very long list of material similarities.
Okay, okay, good, good. Okay. Anybody else like to say hello today?
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Thank you for class.
Why am I not qualified to see Ishwari Sundari either? This is so strange, right?
Uh-oh. We're all spirit souls today. That's it.
What's that?
We're all spirit souls today. There's no material body today.
We're all impersonal. Okay. Anybody else want to show my lack of qualification?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, Tota Gopinath here. Great to hear from you.
I see the picture, but you don't get the video anyway. Anybody else say hello?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, this is Krishna-katha. Thank you so much. It was so
Haribol.
important for me to hear about separation. So
Yeah.
I couldn't understand, but now something is better with me. Thank you.
Okay, great, great. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Garaj, it's Lal Govinda.
And Braja, thank you for
Thanks
class.
Now I'm doubly not qualified. I can't see anything. What is going on here?
I think your internet connection's not so good because you keep freezing up on the video.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, yeah, because I'm speaking at the same time as Wisdom of the Sages, probably.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm just, rather than be further embarrassed, I'm just going to look at all the names that are here and then go and then pack and then go today. Okay. Thank you all. This smaller group today, but we really got something special. I really felt it that this is a special blessing to actually even hear these purports. Okay. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhaeva cha patitaram pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo